Behind the Shades.
What are some of the more common roadblocks for the women and even the fathers to understand, okay, we need to figure something else. We need to figure something out. How are we going to move to the next stage, either weaning the child off or maybe continue what we're doing, but adjust it a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing to do is to really take a step back and assess what your goal is, because the the bar often keeps moving. Most moms prenatally that I talk to, I'm like, what is your nursing goal? They'll say 6 months, because that's exclusive nursing for 6 months, because that's what the doctor says to do. Once a woman gets to 6 months, then they're like, okay, I did 6 months. I'm going to try to get to a year. Once they get to a year, they're like, okay, I'm going to try to get to 2 years. And it keeps moving. And usually after that, what I hear moms say is, I want to go until my child is ready to be done. But they're often surprised how long that can take. And so if they're at a point where they're burnt out, it's reassessing that. If you really want to go until your child is done, what can we do to make that more manageable? And if you're reassessed and you're like, no, I'm really ready to be done, okay, then what do we need to do to wean gently? Because just cutting it off, because that's what usually happens, is someone gets totally burnt out, and they say, no, we're done. And they try to cold turkey wean a child, and it doesn't go well. And so what you need to do, and this is for both moms and dads, is really, for these kiddos who nurse past 2, their mom is, and the milk is sort of like their blanket. It's their favorite thing. My daughter once told me when she was 2, just milk is love. And that always stuck out to me, of like, okay, milk is love. So if I take the milk away, it's like I'm taking my love away, right? And that's really, really hard. So you have to start to separate mom from milk, because especially these COVID kids, if mom goes away, the milk goes away, right? So if you tell your kid, one day the milk isn't going to be here anymore, well, that's actually going to backfire on you, because they're going to get scared and anxious and want to nurse more, because they also think that means mom's going away. So what you do is you start to incorporate what I call like special time with your child, either right before or right after a nursing session, so they can see that you don't leave as soon as the milk goes away. And because that's usually the only time, probably, that the kid gets mom to themselves, especially if there are other kids around, and where mom is sitting and being fully attentive to them. And so you want to show them that there are other ways to get your attention besides nursing. And kids are really smart. They understand way more than we give them credit for, even if they're not super verbal yet. So, but they can answer yes or no questions. And so if they're asking for milk, usually it's for 3 reasons. You can ask, like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Maybe more than that. Are you thirsty? Are you tired? Or do you just want mama time? And you can assess that and try to start breaking apart the need they're looking for, because if they're really actually hungry, you can get them some food instead of nursing, but still play with them, or water. And that's how you start to break it apart. If you are their sole consoling person for everything, that's tough. And so you have to teach them that there are other means to comfort besides just you and the milk.
And I can understand the hesitation or maybe even some difficulty in that process, because one of the safest places in the world is in the arms of someone that is caring for you.
Yeah. Hopefully, right? That's the hope and the goal. And yeah, so if you can imagine and have some empathy for the kid, that if they think this means you're leaving them, or you're going away, or they're not going to be able to spend as much time with you because the milk is going away, that's going to lead to upset. And even if they don't know how to fully explain that's what they're feeling, if you can think of it in that way, you can have more compassion and patience for the upset. And I had to learn really quick with my son how to parent without nursing. I didn't actually go as much into my story, so I'll give a little bit more of it. So my daughter was nursing through 2, and it was so good. Like, we had a really rough beginning, but once we got past a year and I stopped nursing or pumping, and it was just us, it was like a couple times a day, 2 or 3 times a day, and it was our connecting time, and it was special. And then when I got pregnant again, my milk, it was very common for the milk to dry up during pregnancy. That happened, but I had full intention of latching her again when the baby came and tandem nursing. So that's what I did. And so I went from tandem nursing to this 4-month-old refusing to nurse. And I had to figure out how to console him without nursing, because the main reason I did that is because I didn't know how to deal with my daughter without nursing, because it was the easiest way to comfort her. And I knew she would be jealous of him for getting the milk, and I didn't want to deal with it. And so even though I still had this way of comforting her, I had to figure out quick what to do. And now I can apply those things to my daughter when I weaned her, that, really it comes down to hugs. That's how you comfort. It's still you. I don't offer him to nurse now, and he's still younger than my daughter was. Like, what am I trying to say? My daughter was still nursing at the age he was. So, if he hurts himself, I get down on the floor and I open my arms and I give him a hug. And so it's still me. It's still comfort. I'm still there. It's just not with my boob. But that's a rough transition to get out of. And so for dads, what you can do is a lot of it's just patience. And sometimes it's making mom okay with leaving, because there's a lot of guilt when they're upset, and walking away from them is really, really hard. So I typically suggest, if you're dealing with nighttime, like bedtime, is pick a day. Just start with 1 day a week. That's data day. Maybe it starts during the day. Maybe it's a nap time. That's usually easier than bedtime. But a lot of the time it has to be mom leaving for the kid to give in and be okay with it at first. So look at it as maybe mom goes to get some coffee or see her friend, or that's self-care time. But you have to tell the kid, oh, mom's not here right now. So, and you have to not be like, okay, so it's dad, I have to do it. But it's like, pump it up, right? Like, oh, this is our special time. Because what moms do unintentionally is get in the way of dads by telling them they're doing it wrong. Like, no, you're just doing it wrong. You have to put this blanket on the bed. You have to snuggle them in this position. You have to, no, you got the wrong passy, And so of course dads are like, all right, you do it. You do it if I'm doing it wrong. And so moms have to be quiet and leave. And dads have to be okay with handling the upset that mom can easily fix with the boob. You don't have that magic cure. So you have to be okay with just the hugs and sitting through it until they understand that you're not going to leave. You're there for them, and they'll get used to you too.